Am I the asshole for not asking my niece to not park in my neighbor's handicap spot? On my street, no one has a driveway or garage, so it's all just street parking. Generally, everyone is good about just parking in front of their own houses. The unwritten rule is if you have a second car or have guests, you should park down the road where there is a large public parking lot with plenty of parking spots. There has been an issue with the new neighbors that moved in. They have two cars. One is the dad's. One is his teenage son's. The dad has a handicap, so he got the city to turn the spot in front of his house turned into handicap spot. This isn't a problem. The son, who for some reason has a car and a truck, will park wherever he wants in front of whoever's house. Several of us had gone to talk to his dad about it and ask if he could ask his son to be more courteous about the parking situation, given that his son is young and able-bodied and has two vehicles. He basically blew everyone off and said his son can park wherever the fuck he wants. So all the rest of us have just dealt with it and wrote them off as inconsiderate. Now, unrelated to this, I have my niece coming over to babysit. I've for the past few years paid her to babysit my kids during the summer. My niece also has a handicap. Given the parking situation, which was never an issue before, we had planned for her to stop her car in front of my house and get out, and I would go and park her car in the parking lot before I left. My niece, however, decided on Monday morning to instead park in my neighbor's handicap spot. She had checked with the city. I have since double-checked, and they do not specifically register street handicap spots to any one particular person. It has been confirmed that as long as she has a sticker or placard, which she does, she can park there. My neighbor is furious about it, since by the time he gets home from work my niece is still in his spot, as I don't get home until much later than him. He has demanded I tell my niece to stop parking in the spot, and yesterday tried having her car towed to no avail. My niece finds the whole thing hilarious and doesn't think we should have to make the extra effort to park if he won't get his son to. I'm guessing it's probably petty and possibly morally problematic, but I agree with her, and I'm finding it hard to find any empathy with my neighbor. If he got his son to park his vehicles in the parking lot down the road, I would ask my niece to not park in his spot anymore.
Am I the asshole for not wanting to hold off on proposing to my boyfriend because it will upset my single sister? I want to propose to my boyfriend. When I told my parents, they said they were happy for me. However, they asked me to hold off. My sister is single. It's no secret she wants to be married though. I know she has social media accounts like Pinterest full of wedding things. My parents say she'll be upset if I get engaged when she's not even in a relationship, and that I'm married first because I'm younger. She's 29 and she'll be turning 30 around the time I'd be getting married if I go through with my plan to propose. I actually asked them how it is supposed to work and how long I have to hold off when she's not even in a relationship. Neither my mom, dad, stepdad and stepmom could answer that. I know she'll be upset. I don't believe I should just not propose to him to avoid upsetting her though. They aren't using my sister as an excuse because they don't like my boyfriend. She will be very upset, and they do like him. I'm asking if AITAH because I'm getting so much pressure and arguing. I honestly want to know. They weren't happy when I said I don't want to hold off. I was honestly shocked they are asking this of me, and that both my mom or stepdad and dad or stepmom said the same thing, even though I told them separately, and they didn't talk to each other about it first. Am I wrong for feeling like what they're asking is insanity, and for saying I don't want to hold off? My boyfriend and I are both 25. We've been together for 3 years and have lived together for 1. We're employed and financially independent. So it's not like it's too early in the relationship or we aren't established yet. I feel like it's time for the next step.
Am I the asshole for saying no to marriage because of the date? I 25F said no to my boyfriend 27 and proposal. We'll call him Richard. For context, He proposed to me on the 1-year anniversary of my mom's passing. Him and I have been dating since high school. He knows how important my mom was to me. I went to her for everything. Anyways, now on to the actual story. Richard had been hinting at a proposal for about 3 months now. I told him how I wanted to be proposed to, and who I wanted there. I wanted my family and friends to be there. Well, his sister took me to get my nails done and to get my hair done, as well as what I thought was a way to help cheer me up a little since my mom's passing was still a pretty fresh wound. But at around 5:30 we went to the botanical gardens in our city, and when we got there, I noticed that all of Richard's family was there. That's when Richard came out and got down on one knee. I didn't know what to say or do. I was heartbroken because none of my friends nor my family were there. I started crying and told him I didn't want to marry him. I ran out, and since then, his family has been blowing up my phone, calling me dramatic, and basically telling me that I need to move on from my mom's passing and the fact that none of my family was there. Edit to add, I am not as upset that he excluded my friends and family. It's more so that he chose to propose to me on the anniversary of my mom's death. If it was a different date, I would have said yes. He was there for me when my mom passed and through other tough times that I've had, and I've been there for him through everything he's gone through as well. I get that he can choose where and how to propose, and it didn't overly bother me that my friends and family weren't there. It was just a rough day overall, so my emotions were all over the place. Update: me and him talked about everything, and I explained to him that it wasn't the fact that my friends and family weren't there and that it was in fact about the date. He was understanding, and we are gonna move past this. In the meantime, I told him what his family was doing. He didn't know that they were texting me, and he decided to go low contact with them. I am choosing to work on our relationship because I do genuinely love him, and he loves me as well. We are also both going to therapy on our own and with each other. Thank you. 3.
Am I the asshole for falling for another woman? I, 43 meters, have been married 40 for almost 6 years. She has a couple of children from previous relationships that are all adults now, who I have taken as my own children. A couple of years ago, she got sick due to complications from COVID, and while it physically took its toll, mentally it defeated her, especially combined with other hardships she has faced in the past. For a little more than a year, this mental funk has worn me down. I accepted that I had to do virtually everything around the house, but the lack of gratitude and demands to do more wore on me. If I had a bad day at work, hers was worse, so I had to console her. She stressed about money, but I couldn't work late, and eventually it became attacks or guilt trips. I tried to help her. I tried to pull her out of it, but she refused to budge. She wouldn't leave the bed to come out with me. She wouldn't seek out disability to help the financial strain. She wouldn't try counseling to try to overcome the hump. About 4 months ago, a coworker and I, who I have known and worked with for years, started getting closer. But I'm married, so I ignored whatever flight of fancy I might be feeling. Except it wasn't just physically that I thought about her. It was missing her laugh, or going out of my way to see her, albeit just for a minute. My wife now knows that there's a mutual attraction between myself and my coworker. However, since I didn't do anything physical, she thinks we can salvage our marriage, and I'm afraid I've emotionally moved on. I know I owe it to her to try to rekindle the spark, and have tried avoiding the third party and focusing on my wife, who is trying now, but deep down, I fear it's too late. I already know I'm the asshole here. I never foresaw myself as the guy who bailed on his sick wife, and in essence now I am.
Am I the asshole for lying to family and friends about who's the infertile one between my wife and I? My wife 30TF and I 3TM have been married for 7 years and been having unprotected sex for 3 years trying to have a baby. It has taken a toll on our marriage, and I admit that many times I have complained to family, friends, and coworkers about my wife's infertility. What I thought was my wife's infertility. Maybe it is because we live in Utah, but whenever the idea of us being infertile came up, people just swarmed in giving my wife recommendations to fertility specialists. The talk was always, oh, my wife saw drive, whatever, and we ended up having twins. Or maybe your wife is just too stressed out. And I believed it because my wife contracted TB when she was 20. and volunteering in another country. Her primary care, who she saw when she was back home, just flippantly told her that TB could affect the genital area and prevent her body from housing a baby, but obviously, he said it in medical lingo. We finally find a doctor who straight up told us that there was nothing wrong with her fallopian tubes or her endometrium. She suggested I get tested to see that I'm not the problem. The verdict comes back that I am the one with very low sperm count. I was so shocked and went to get another opinion, which told me the same thing. I felt so shaken, and because a lot of people knew about our struggles, they also knew we went to a doctor again. At a family and friends gathering, people started asking me about what we found out, and I just panicked and said that my wife's TB was likely the cause, but not 100% necessarily. People saw that as my wife being the problem, and somebody even suggested I go through with divorcing her since I was 32, and complaining about being childless, saying I could be a dad within a year since it was short marriage. What I did not realize was that my mom and aunt would jump on that suggestion and start telling friends and their kids that I was getting a divorce, and that this was my wife's fault because she shouldn't have been so reckless when she was young. What was worse was some people thought it wasn't even TB, but a bacterial genital disease. This all got back to my wife through a friend, and she is furious. She said that she could not believe I've been painting her as the problem when she wasn't even the problem, and that she was tired of the pitying or disapproving looks she was getting in our small town, and that I needed to set the record straight, or at least tell everybody to shut up and that we are not divorcing. Am I the asshole? I panicked and I felt like I didn't completely lie, because TB could be exacerbating our problem. But my mom really screwed things up by making it malicious. Now I'm in over my head and feel really bad.